Welcome to Parlay. I'm your humble host, Mo. Thank you for being here. They had us chasing titles and not our life. They had us chasing titles and not our lives. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, since you were probably very young, you've been asked what you want to be when you grow up. Doctor, lawyer, archaeologist, scientist, mathematician, physicist, renowned actor, these type of things, right? But we didn't think about what we wanted. You see, what would make us happy? What would fulfill your life and how you see yourself? They always talk about how they see you, right? But what if I told you this is all by design? This is all by design to get you concentrating on the system. Some people call it the matrix. I identified it as margins and parameters a long time ago. Drawing the margins and parameters for me to follow. I'd say that kind of thing too. But this is all by design. It's designed to perpetuate a system of economics in a society where there's governing controls. And there's also that path, those prescribed paths that you can go along. Not your own path, but the path that they have before you to follow, right? What path do you want to, you've heard that. What path do you want to follow? What path do you want to walk down? As if I'm not good enough to carve my own path, to pave my own way, right? But this isn't the narrative. Your parents, your teacher might have said, well, you'd make a good doctor. I think you would be a very good lawyer. I think you'd be a very great businessman or businesswoman. Right? But you didn't think about what you wanted. You might have seen it on TV. You might have seen it on a television show. You might have seen it somewhere where you thought, wow, that's nice. Yeah, that would be nice for me to do. And I would get a very, very, very good title. And people would revere me. People would respect me because I have a nice title. But who controls that title? These institutions control that title. And they're the determining factors whether or not you meet the requirements to gain that title, to be presented with that title. And you might have paid very dearly for the school, the classes, in order to try to reach for that title, right? And so this title should bring a lot of money. This title may bring fame, whatever the case might be. This title is going to fulfill my life. But yet when you get older, you see that these people that have the title that you want are very unhappy. And you might think to yourself, well, surely if I had their title, I'd be very happy. They don't understand what they have. But what if they do understand what they have? And they're trying to tell you that it's not all it's cracked up to be. Why? Because there are so many different nuances to that and so many factors that take away from your ability to enjoy it. Right? Well, why are you not enjoying it? Well, it could be many factors. And the one leading factor is, well, it's not who you are. It's not who you are made to be. Yes, of course, some people are natural at wanting to provide medical treatment and to care for people. And by design, naturally, they gravitate towards that. But you find out that you want something different all along and that this wasn't made for you. And you see a lot of people leaving the medical profession because, well, it doesn't fulfill them. It doesn't spark that desire every morning to want to get up and go fulfill that role, right? But it's what society told you that you should do. It's what society said would bring you purpose, would bring you meaning in life. And that would fulfill your life, that would make you happy at the end of the day, because you're able to have a particular lifestyle that everybody says is awesome, that's great, that you should want to have. What if I told you it was all by design? What if I told you that they want you to chase that title, they want you to chase that goal? They want you to look at it that way. So they can have control over society. They can have money flow in the direction that they want it to be flowed in. Well, how did we used to dam up rivers and channel water into, channels and dikes and things like that, so we can irrigate the land and get the farmland to grow crop? It was just channeling water and forming these channels to irrigate the land. It's essentially what they're doing with our economic system. They're just channeling the flow of money in the direction they want it to go in. And they utilize these titles in order to help them do that. Well, it's not the only thing that they do. They do more than that, but also a little bit more. What if I told you that was what they wanted you to see, but in reality, what they're trying to do is harvest your energy? Yeah, your energy. The energy is everything. It's in everything. The food you eat is energy. The way that food was grown was made from energy, from the sun. You see, so really, they think in terms of energy. They want your energy. Well, why do I know that too? Well, everything that you purchased is based off of the future output of your energy. Yeah, your energy that you are going to create. And if you don't give it to them, they just take those items back, regardless of how much you already paid for them. And absolutely, you might almost be finished. But unfortunately, life had a different idea. You see? A lot of times we live this life completely lost, not even understanding what it is and our purpose in this life. You see people, they get rich, they become rich. And I'm not saying don't get rich. I'm not saying don't chase success, don't be successful. I'm not saying any of these things. But if it really comes from you to want to heal people, if it really comes from you to want to get people off of their legal troubles, if you really want to be that banker, if you really want to do something, whatever it is, if you really want to do that, then do it. Absolutely do it. If that's what's going to fulfill you in life, if that's what's going to help you have a deeper purpose and have meaning in your life, yeah, absolutely do it. But if you are somebody different, if you want freedom, if you desire freedom in your life, and you want peace, and you want to be with nature, and you want to live a more humble, natural existence, if you perhaps you don't like all this stuff holding you down because it restricts you from freedom of movement. You can't go to the next state because, well, you got all these things to pay for. Well, you need to shed that weight, don't you? You need to really seriously have a moment with yourself, a moment of reflection, and determine what it is that you really want to do. Because they put all these titles to validate us, so we can seek validation from outside sources. So we can seek validation from these institutions these colleges, these career paths, these big corporations, all the professionals and intellectuals. We chase validation from them, and hopefully they give us title. And often a lot of people get these things and they discover their lives are so much worse than what they were before. That's because they don't know themselves. They were chasing titles. They weren't chasing themselves. They weren't trying to find out who they were in the inside. They didn't think to do their shadow work. They didn't think to do things like go to the park, take a walk, perform some sort of artistic activity, painting, singing, anything, poetry, writing books. See, a lot of these things give people meaning. A lot of these things help people get up in the morning, and even early as possible, because they can't wait to do the thing. They can't wait to do what they enjoy doing every day. And that's what we should be striving for. That's what we should be wanting in our life. And that is what brings us fulfillment in our life. You can have purpose, you can have meaning, you can end any of these or both, right? But are we going to be fulfilled? Is it going to fulfill us? And usually, yes. If you are living to purpose, if you're living to your purpose, you will be fulfilled. You will see fulfillment in your life. Maybe not total. What is total fulfillment? I don't know. You don't have to be a millionaire, but if you want to be a millionaire, go ahead. That's a good goal to strive for. And I believe that you can achieve it. I believe you can do it, because we're so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And we're more capable than the title that they give you. You're more than that title. You're so much more than that title. You are a beautiful human being given this life. And for that, I want you to think about that. Okay? Until my next video, peace.